What if the truest measure of a man's love isn't found in the words he says, but in the way he touches you when no one's watching? When his heart is fully present, his body speaks a language deeper than desire, one of trust, tenderness, and soul-level connection. This isn't just lovemaking, this is love, revealed in its most intimate form. When a man's love is genuine, the entire experience of lovemaking becomes something far more profound than physical pleasure. One of the most telling signs of this authenticity is his presence. Not just the presence of his body, but of his mind, heart, and soul. It's the kind of presence where time seems to pause, and every movement, every breath, every glance becomes a shared language of deep connection. In this space, he's not focused on how he looks, what he achieves, or how he performs. His energy isn't wrapped around ego or expectation. Instead, he's grounded in the moment, completely tuned in to the experience of the woman he loves. When love is real, a man doesn't separate emotional intimacy from physical closeness. He understands that her body is not an object, but an extension of her being, her emotions, her memories, her fears, and her trust. Because of this, his touch is intentional, not rushed or routine. It becomes a form of communication, an unspoken assurance that he's there fully and he's not going anywhere. This kind of presence cannot be faked. It's not performative. It's not about technique or control. It's about surrendering into the moment, letting go of distractions, and becoming emotionally available in a way that only true love can invite. He makes eye contact not out of obligation, but because he wants to see her, really see her. His gaze holds depth, warmth, and attention, telling her that she's safe, that she's valued, that she's wanted for more than her physical appearance. This level of attentiveness can only come from emotional investment. It's not driven by lust, but by care, by a desire to create something meaningful, to build trust in the most vulnerable space two people can share. His presence says, I'm with you not just in body, but in soul. Even the way he listens changes. He listens to the rhythm of her breath, the tension or ease in her body, the sound of her voice, and the silent cue she may not even know she's giving. He responds, adapts, slows down, or leans in. Not because he's trying to impress, but because he's in tune with her needs. Presence in lovemaking becomes a sacred act of listening, not with ears alone, but with heart and intuition. A man in love doesn't try to escape through fantasy or dissociate emotionally from the moment. He doesn't get lost in self-centered desire. Instead, he stays grounded, emotionally anchored in the shared experience. He seeks to make her feel seen and emotionally nourished. He's aware that true intimacy isn't about release, but about connection. And that kind of presence leaves a lasting emotional imprint, one that lingers far beyond the physical touch. It's a space where both partners feel emotionally held, where love becomes a living, breathing energy between them. When a man's love is real, it changes the way he expresses emotion, especially during the most intimate moments. Lovemaking becomes more than a physical act. It becomes an emotional offering, a way to say what words sometimes cannot. In these moments, a man who loves deeply doesn't hold back. He allows his emotional walls to come down, revealing parts of himself that the world rarely sees. His touch softens, his voice changes, and his energy shifts. He doesn't simply act with affection. He feels it deeply and allows that feeling to shape his every movement. The emotional layer becomes as important as the physical one, if not more. Genuine love strips away the mask many men are taught to wear. Society often conditions men to hide their feelings, to be stoic, detached, and composed, especially in vulnerable situations. But when love is real, and when he's with someone who makes him feel safe, those defenses melt away. His emotional guard lowers, not because he's weak, but because he trusts. In that space of intimacy, he doesn't need to prove anything. He can be soft. He can be present with his feelings without shame. He can whisper tender words, offer comfort through his eyes, and even show vulnerability through the smallest gestures. These are not actions done out of habit. They are born from a place of deep affection and sincere emotional investment. His emotional expression might come through quiet moments, when he holds her close after a kiss or rests his forehead against hers, breathing in her presence. There may be no grand declarations, yet the depth is undeniable. He might trace his fingers along her skin, not to arouse, but to connect. He may pause during the moment just to say, "I love you." And when he says it, there's a trembling honesty in his voice. It doesn't feel rehearsed or convenient. It feels raw, like something sacred is being shared. Tears aren't off the table either. If a man has been carrying emotional weight, pain, or even gratitude, true lovemaking with someone he loves can become the place where that emotion finally has room to breathe. The intensity of connection, the depth of care, and the trust built between them can all come rushing to the surface. This isn't weakness. This is presence. This is a man surrendering to his own emotional truth and allowing her to witness it without fear. He also becomes more aware of her emotional experience. He doesn't just respond to her body, he tunes into her heart. He notices if something feels off, if she seems distant, or if she's holding back. And he doesn't push or question from a place of ego. He gently invites her into closeness, letting her know that she can be her whole self with him, emotionally and physically. This attentiveness, this emotional responsiveness, reflects a kind of love that can't be imitated. It's honest, vulnerable, and deeply human. It creates a space where both can feel emotionally seen, valued, and safe in each other's arms. When a man's love is genuine, his awareness of his partner's emotional and physical comfort becomes a top priority during lovemaking. This awareness isn't just about technique or habit. It stems from a deep desire to make her feel safe, respected, and emotionally held. He doesn't see intimacy as something that begins when bodies touch, but as something that begins with trust, communication, and mutual understanding. Consent in this space is not just a one-time permission, it's an ongoing conversation that he listens to with care, not just through words, but through her every breath, pause, and expression. A man in love does not take her willingness for granted. He doesn't assume, he checks in. Sometimes this is verbal, a soft, "Are you okay?" or "Does this feel good?" But often it's in how attentive he is to her body language and emotional signals. If she tenses, he notices. If she pulls back even slightly, he pauses. There's no pressure to perform or continue unless she feels fully safe and fully seen. That sensitivity comes from love, not fear. It comes from a place of honoring her boundaries and knowing that real intimacy cannot exist without mutual trust. Comfort comes more than just physical ease. It becomes emotional openness. He creates a space where she can speak her needs without hesitation, where she can ask to slow down, to pause, or to be held longer without feeling guilty or worried about disappointing him. His love is evident in the way he responds to those moments, not with frustration or distance, but with reassurance. He lets her know with his presence and his actions that she never needs to hide or suppress her feelings around him. She is free to be herself, sensitive, tired, excited, or hesitant, and he will meet her there without judgment. His attentiveness also shows in how he prepares for the experience, whether it's through small gestures like dimming the lights, playing music she loves, or ensuring they're in a space where she feels relaxed. His actions reveal how much her comfort matters to him. He doesn't rush into intimacy as a routine or expectation. He moves with awareness and care, checking in with her energy, her expressions, and her unspoken cues. His rhythm matches hers, not as a performance, but as a reflection of his respect and deep emotional connection. And if she ever expresses discomfort or fear, his reaction becomes a mirror of his love. He listens without defensiveness. He comforts without trying to fix or explain it away. He validates her feelings and makes it clear that her emotional well-being is just as important as the physical connection they share. In these moments, the true depth of his love shines through. But he's not there to just share a moment. He's there to share a feeling, an experience, and a bond rooted in safety, care, and emotional intimacy. He understands that genuine connection grows in the soil of respect, where consent isn't a formality but a living agreement between two people who trust each other enough to be fully present and emotionally naked together. When a man truly loves, the pace of lovemaking naturally changes. He no longer moves through intimacy with urgency or a goal-driven mindset. Instead, he slows down, not because he's trying to prolong the moment for performance's sake, but because he genuinely wants to feel every second of it with the woman he loves. The act becomes less about reaching an endpoint and more about cherishing the journey. This slowing down is not passive, it's deeply intentional. It's about savoring closeness, embracing the emotions that arise, and allowing the connection to unfold without pressure or time limits. When love is present, he becomes acutely aware that every moment holds meaning. And the way he touches her is more patient, more considered, more attuned to her unique rhythm. He notices how her body responds, not just to stimulation, but to presence. He reads the unspoken language of her expressions, her breath, her sighs, and rather than rushing forward, he chooses to stay in those moments, to linger in the silence between movements, to hold eye contact a little longer, to press his lips to her skin without the need for it to lead somewhere. His slowing down is not a tactic. It's a reflection of how deeply he values the experience and the woman sharing it with him. This slower pace allows for emotional intimacy to deepen. Without haste, there's room for genuine connection to grow between each breath and heartbeat. He's not just physically present, he's emotionally available, creating space for mutual vulnerability. His gentleness becomes an invitation for her to relax, to let go, to feel safe enough to open herself fully. He wants her to feel that she is more than just a body in the room. She is seen, heard, and held in ways that are invisible to the outside world, but deeply felt in that intimate space between them. In this kind of lovemaking, the smallest gestures become powerful. A slow kiss on the shoulder, a quiet whisper, a hand resting on her heart. These actions speak volumes. They tell her he's not trying to reach the next moment. He's fully invested in the one they're in. He's not pushing for more, but settling into what is. It becomes clear that he values her emotions just as much as her physical response. Her comfort, her pleasure, and her trust are all part of what makes the experience sacred for him. When a man loves this way, the slowness becomes a form of devotion. It's how he communicates that he cherishes not just a physical act, but the emotional bond it deepens. He wants her to feel everything, not just sensation, but security, warmth, love, and respect. His patience speaks to a deeper understanding that intimacy isn't just something to do, but something to feel, to explore, to honor. He holds space for her, not as a guest, but as a home. In this space, time stretches and melts, allowing both of them to experience a connection that feels eternal, even if it lasts only minutes. His slowed down presence is his way of saying, "You matter to me completely." And that message echoes through every movement, every breath, every moment of stillness. When a man's love is genuine, lovemaking doesn't end with a physical release. It extends far beyond the act itself. The moments that follow become just as meaningful, if not more. This is where his emotional depth truly reveals itself. He doesn't turn away, get distracted, or disconnect. Instead, he leans in closer. He holds her softly, without expectation or urgency. The afterglow isn't something he rushes through. It becomes a sacred time of connection, reflection, and quiet togetherness. His presence remains steady and intentional, as if he understands that her heart is still open and vulnerable, and he wants to stay right there beside it. The way he touches her after is different. It's not driven by desire, but by affection. It's protective, gentle, grounding. He might run his fingers through her hair, trace the shape of her hand, or simply wrap her in his arms. These aren't casual actions. They are love in motion. He doesn't move away to claim space or return to distraction. He moves closer, wanting her to feel that she is still the center of his world even after the intimacy has passed. Her comfort, her emotional safety, and her sense of being held continue to matter deeply to him. In this quiet space after physical connection, he may talk softly or say nothing at all, but everything about him speaks volumes. The way he breathes with her, the way his body aligns with hers, the way his hand finds hers without hesitation. Each gesture says, "I'm still with you." There's no retreat, no emotional withdrawal. He stays because he wants to, not because he feels obligated. He stays because his love doesn't vanish when the moment ends. It grows deeper in the stillness that follows. Sometimes these moments bring even more emotional closeness than the act itself. The vulnerability of being so open, so exposed, invites conversations that can only happen when two people feel completely safe. He listens if she wants to talk. He holds silence if she needs quiet. He tunes in, not out. This attentiveness is rooted in love, not habit. It comes from his desire to care not only for her body, but for her soul. He understands that her emotional state matters just as much as her physical satisfaction. Even the smallest gestures carry weight. Bringing her water, adjusting the blanket, brushing hair from her face. All of these acts say that she is still precious to him in the most tender way. They speak to his willingness to care for her in the moments when it's no longer about passion, but about peace. And it's in that peace where real love finds its voice. Not in grand statements, but in the quiet assurance of his continued presence. He doesn't just love her during the peak of the moment. He loves her in the stillness that follows, in the warmth they share beneath the covers, in the comfort of his lingering embrace. And that's when she knows it's real, when she feels not just desired but deeply valued, long after the last kiss fades. Real love reveals itself not just in grand gestures or passionate moments, but in the quiet, sacred ways a man shows up during the most vulnerable form of connection. When his love is genuine, intimacy becomes more than physical. It becomes emotional, spiritual, and deeply human. He is fully present, not to impress, but to connect. He expresses emotion with tenderness, not fear. He honors her comfort, listens to her unspoken needs, and treats her body with reverence. He slows down, not because he has to, but because he wants to experience every heartbeat with her. And when it's over, he doesn't leave the moment behind. He stays, holds, and continues to love with the same depth and softness. These are the quiet truths of a man in love. Not found in what he says, but in how he loves her, when the world is silent and they are the only two who exist.